Hello students of class 9, subject biology, unit 4, diversity in living organisms. Lesson 9, economic importance of bacteria and fungi, in which we have learnt economic importance of bacteria. Now in continuation with that, we are moving to economic importance of fungi, where you are learning uses of fungi as well as harmful fungi and various places where, like industries, bakery, etc., where fungi is used. Most of the people, many consider fungi as harmful group of organisms. No doubt many species of fungi are harmful, cause damage. You might have seen athlete food spoilage, etc. As they cause diseases in plants and animals and also spoil food and household things, leather bags and all, household things, they get caught with fungi, isn't it? However, some species of fungi are also useful as they play important role in our life. We shall examine both harmful fungi and useful fungi separately now. First, we'll move to harmful fungi. Harmful fungi spoil edibles, household goods, etc. Spoilage of food items, spores of many species of fungi, molds like mucor, rhizopus and mucor children. Bread molds we call them. On getting some suitable organic matter or eatables settled on them and grow into mold. All of you must be familiar with molds growing over bread and other similar products found in the kitchens and bakeries. You might have seen children, coconut, particularly on the coconut, lemon and all, you might have seen molds. Spoilage of household goods, materials of organic origin like leather, shoes, belts, bags, cotton cloths and other materials, if kept without proper care, gets spoiled by mold. And molds give stink, stale smell also, pungent smell. Spoilage of fruits, vegetables. Often you observe fruits developing greenish or bluish molds over them and making them unfit for human consumption. Got it? We can't eat such foods. You might have seen children. On one layer, white color layer will be formed. Got it? That is spoilage of food, isn't it? Previous day food, some 2 days if you forget and keep it aside, they get molds on them. Diseases in human beings. Many diseases of humans are caused by fungus. Some common diseases caused by fungi in human are ringworm, athlete foot, corneal infection and aspergillosis. Diseases of the lung is called aspergillosis. Athlete foot means the foot in between 2 toes. You will find fungal infection. And then corneal infection is, they call madrasai, like that. Penicillium, a blue mold, and aspergillus, a green mold, are common molds which grow on fruits, spoil them. The commonly affected fruits are lemon, oranges, and other fruits belonging to the citrus family. Diseases caused in crop plants. Many fungi cause widespread diseases in plants, especially in our crop plants. Here you are seeing, no children, what is the difference you find in Penicillium and aspergillus? In aspergillus, it is like smaller to bigger and it's like crown, isn't it? We can clearly see children. These thread-like structures are called mycelium. You got it? We can see in the laboratories. When the school reopens, I will show you all this in the lab classes. Some of the common diseases caused by fungi are white, brown and black rust of wheat, late blight of potato. Potato becomes soft. Late blight, it is called blight of potato. Due to that, children, potato being the staple food of Scotland, there they had to migrate from one country to other country when their crop called potato suffered with late blight. You know, that happened years back. Smuts of barley, rice, wheat, red rot of sugarcane. How many of you have eaten sugarcane? When you cut sugarcane, in between you find red lines. That is red rot of sugarcane. Leaf smut of rice, white rust of sarsen. That is mustard. Sarsen means sarsan ki saag. They'll say no, sarsen means mustard. And many more. Got it? The above mentioned diseases cause lot of damage to our crop plants, thus creating food problem and affecting human beings. Got it? Damaging to the trees now. Bracket fungi which grow on trees. They look like brackets, children, big, like railway tracks, no, like overlapping brackets they grow. Adversely affect them. When the fungus grows and starts producing spores, its hyphae penetrate inside the tree and spread and use all the nutrients derived by the tree. The spores produced by the bracket fungus settle on some other trees to survive. But the tree on which fungus was growing would ultimately die. So spores will, because they are transformed to other plants, they grow, they survive, but the plants will die. Got it? Is that clear? Now we are moving to useful fungi. So far what you have learnt is harmful fungi. Now we are moving to useful fungi. Many species of fungi are useful to us. They help us in many ways, and we are going to learn one by one. Role of bacteria and fungi in medicine. Got it? From many fungi, medicines commonly called antibiotics are obtained. Penicillin was the first antibiotic which was discovered in 1929. What is an antibiotic? It is a chemical substance produced by a living organism which has a property to stop the growth of disease-producing bacteria and fungi. See how nice you see. From the fungi only it is derived. It is a material taken out from the fungi or bacteria from the living organisms, and to kill the living organism, the growth, to prevent or to stop the growth of disease causing bacteria and fungi. So antibiotics, biotics means life, no, biome. So it is derived from the living organisms to kill the living organisms. From some other bacteria we take some substance and some other bacteria will be killed which cause diseases. That is why they are called antibiotics. Is it clear? Now discovery of penicillin. It happened accidentally, children. Discovery of penicillin happened accidentally. So Alexander Fleming was the person who discovered penicillin. Is that clear? His name is Alexander Fleming. And Alexander Fleming was a scientist. He was performing certain experiments by growing the culture of bacteria. Culture of bacteria means taking some petri dishes, some nutrient material, putting some bacteria and studying about it. He was continuously doing it. Some bacterial culture he had prepared got contaminated accidentally by Penicillium notatum. He repeated his observation many times by taking bacterial culture and putting some Penicillium notatum. He repeated his observations many a times, got it? And finally, every time he saw that bacterial colony that he was cultured getting destroyed. So he took some petri dish. He cultured some bacteria. And each time on that he used to pour Penicillium notatum. By doing so, that got died. Got it? So, after repeated experimentation, he came to the conclusion that the mold produced some substance which killed bacteria. He named this substance as penicillin, which was the first antibiotic to be used in medicine. The next antibiotic to be discovered was streptomycin. Its discovery was done by Salman Waxman. It was obtained from Streptomyces graeus. Today we have so many antibiotics, children, such as penicillin, streptomycin, chloromycetin, erythromycin, tetracycline, azithromycin, etc. Newer and newer antibiotics are being prepared nowadays with broad spectrum uses. Got it? What are then the criteria of good antibiotic? How we can call or select a good antibiotic? It should have certain characteristic features. So criteria of good antibiotics. It should have wide spectrum effect. That is able to kill a variety of disease causing microorganism. Suppose a person is suffering from fever, cold, cough, body pains. Is he supposed to take for body pains one antibiotic, fever one antibiotic, cough one antibiotic, then the antibiotic only will become his breakfast, isn't it? So many tablets he has to take, correct? But it should not be like that. One antibiotic must be sufficient to cure all his ailments. So it should, that is called broader spectrum. So it should have a broad spectrum, so that wide spectrum, so that many diseases, variety of disease causing microorganisms must be killed. It should not kill other useful organisms. In our body, you have learnt so many bacteria which are useful are present in our body. They must not be killed. It should not produce harmful side effects on the body. When you take one antibiotic, you get another disease. Is there any point in taking such antibiotic? No. So it should not give any side effects on the body. And it should be cheaper, children. It should not be very costly also. Got it? And there are some other uses also of the antibiotics. Some of them are used as food preservatives, especially to preserve meat and fish, to treat diseased animals, for treating animal feed. From one place to other place, fish, meat, animal feed will be transferred now. Suppose they are getting stale, they will not be useful. So what generally they do, they put antibiotics as preservation and then transport, children. For controlling plant pathogens by treating seeds as well as diseased plants. Is it clear? Got it? So fungi role in industry we are going to learn now. Fungi role in industry. Fungi play a very significant role in industry. First is preparation of wine and alcoholic beverages. Wine, beer and other alcoholic beverages are prepared by the process of fermentation. Fermentation is a process in which the microorganisms, namely yeast, a unicellular fungi, break down carbohydrates into simpler products like ethanol or lactic acid in the absence of oxygen. In your previous lesson, respiration in plants, you have learnt what is meant by in the absence of oxygen. What is that respiration called? Yes, you are right. It is anaerobic respiration. The biochemical reaction can be represented by the following equation. C6H12O6 gives 2C2H5OH plus 2 carbon dioxide. That is, glucose give rise to ethyl alcohol and carbon dioxide. Is that clear? So how is wine prepared then? Now you know what is the basis of wine preparation. That is anaerobic respiration by yeast. Got it? So some base material they'll take, they do fermentation. Got it? Some base they will take either potato starch, barley, grape juice. Like that, if they take different substances, allow them for fermentation. Now let us see how wine is prepared. Wine is prepared by fermentation of grapes, and beer is prepared from barley, that is malt, barley malt. The microorganism which helps in fermentation is yeast, a unicellular fungi. It is called as Saccharomyces cerevisiae. Wine is prepared in large containers. Grapes are crushed and allowed to ferment in these. Yeast cells attached naturally to the grapes are added to start the process of fermentation. Got it? Grapes are collected. Large amount of grapes are collected, crushed, and then they themselves contain. So attached to them, yeast will be there, no? That will be helping them in the preparation of alcohol. That is the process of fermentation. As a result of fermentation, under controlled conditions, ethyl alcohol is produced. Ethyl alcohol only is otherwise called as ethanol. The other name of ethyl alcohol is ethanol. So as a result of fermentation, ethyl alcohol is produced, no? That is again, it will be concentration about 12%. If they consume, drink that 12% concentration, children, they die. So what they do, they reduce the concentration by adding water or some other material. So that is how we get a liquor such as whiskey, gin, etc. Got it? These are obtained by distillation or fermented mixtures. Is that clear? Now we are going for bread making. How bread is made. So you have learnt bacteria and fungi are useful in bakeries also, bakery industry. Yeast is conveniently and commonly used in preparation of bread, idli, dosa, dokla and many other food items. Isn't it? How many of you are fond of dosa and idli? I don't think so idli are fond of, but dosa most of you people like dosa, isn't it? So what they do there, your mom will prepare dough and keep it overnight for fermenting. Next day she will prepare dosa, isn't it? That 12 hours during night, what will happen? They get fermented. Got it? Yeast will be helping to do that fermentation, and the dough comes up, and the dough becoming raising up is called leavening, children. Leavening. Now we are going to learn that. For making bread on commercial scale, flour, that is common flour, multi-purpose flour we call, that is called maida or atta, is converted into dough. Required quantities of fat, salt and yeast. Fat means here ghee or dalda or oil are added to it. Because of yeast, fermentation of starch and the flour starts. Carbon dioxide is also produced, as a result of which leavening or raising of dough takes place. When this dough is baked, the gas bubbles expand and give the bread light spongy texture. Now you understood leavening means raising. Mummy will do know some dosa flour. Half the vessel she'll put, but the next day morning the flour will become double, isn't it? That space, air space, that raising up of dough, that is called leavening. When this dough is baked, the gas bubbles expand and give the bread that light, spongy texture. Before making bread, dough is placed in different types of molds to get it desired shape. So whichever shape you want, in that shape if you put, that will become bulge. Got it? Now, cheese manufacture. Cheese is a valuable food which is prepared from milk. It has high quantities of protein, some fat, calcium, phosphorus, vitamin A, and some quantity of vitamin B. From what we get cheese, children? From milk. Got it? We take milk and take the cheese. You know, no, utterly, butterly, Amul cheese. Isn't it? You know, no, ma cheese and ta. You know that advertisement. You all like that. Pizza and all cheese will be applied. Isn't it? So, for centuries, people have been preparing cheese at home. Nowadays, it is prepared commercially also, as per the need, taste and flavor of the people. Ginger cheese, lemon cheese, flavors will be given, different flavors. Pepper cheese. To manufacture cheese, many steps are taken, children. First step is curdling of the milk. Milk is made into curds. The milk is boiled, allowed to cool up to a particular temperature. Then lactobacillus bacteria are added as per required quantities. Then the milk is thoroughly stirred with the help of some stick or anything, and then kept aside without disturbing. Got it? It gets changed into curds. That is called setting of the curds. Every day almost your mom does know this one. Curdling of milk. She takes 1 cup of milk, puts some of milk and keep it aside. The same thing. That some other curds she is putting no. Small 1 spoon of curds. That only is called adding lactobacillus bacteria. Got it? Curd contain lactobacillus, and that is ages together. From ages it is done. That is called setting of curds. The curd produced is separated from whey. The water which is left out is called whey water. Processing of curd. Now the second step we are going is processing of curds. Extra moisture from curd is removed. At this stage it is called cottage cheese. You all call paneer, no children? That is called cottage cheese. What we use as paneer is called cottage cheese. Once whey water is removed, they tie it and they hang it up and the water comes down. And after everything comes down, they put some weight on it. Got it? Then they squeeze with the cloth, that is called hung curds also. That is called processing of curds. Got it? After processing of curd, what we get is paneer. That is cottage cheese. Salting. The cottage cheese is then salted. It serves 2 purposes. It removes extra moisture and also prevents the growth of undesirable microorganisms. Then after that, ripening is done. The curd is kept at suitable temperatures and humidity. At this stage, some microorganisms along with lactic acid, bacteria, provide particular flavors to cheese. So here 2 kinds of bacteria will be added. One is for making it ripen. Got it? Another one is to give them flavor. Got it? Lactobacillus in the initially, and then later some other bacteria to give the flavor. Got it? So one use you have learned wine production. Second industry you have learned baking industry. Third industry in the dairy, that is dairies, that is cheesy, isn't it? Now we are going to another industry where these are all cottage industries, at home only can do. Mushroom cultivation. Mushroom is a fleshy saprophytic fungus which usually grows on damp decaying organic matter. Mushrooms are various sizes and shapes. Many have cap-like structures with a stalk attached to the soil. However, some varieties do not show stalk, children. They appear like rounded button-like structure. Most of the mushrooms that you see grow in rainy seasons are poisonous and not edible. We should not consume such mushrooms. Is that clear? Now, before going for this, some well-known antibiotics and their sources we are going to learn, children. So many antibiotics in the medicines we have learned, no? Some well-known antibiotics and one more roundabout antibiotics I'll tell. Got it? So in bacteria lesson also we have not learnt about antibiotics. I told we will be learning that in fungi, isn't it? So there in the antibiotics we have learnt first antibiotic, how it is found. Got it? Now we are going to learn some well-known antibiotics, their sources and diseases, and they treat. Got it? Now, first antibiotic is penicillin. So its source organism is Penicillium chrysogenum, a mold, children. First antibiotic is from the fungus. Got it? Tetanus and diphtheria. Streptomycin, Streptomyces graeus, and it is used to cure tuberculosis. Chlorotetracycline, it is taken from Streptomyces aureofaciens, and it is used for treatment of typhoid. Erythromycin, Saccharopolyspora erythrea. Rickettsial fever, it's a kind of fever where in blood there will be so many rickettsial cells, that is called rickettsial fever, and to treat that this antibiotic is used. Once again we are moving to criteria for a good antibiotic. It should be able to kill a variety of diseases producing microorganisms, that is broad spectrum. Got it? And it should not produce undesirable side effects. It should not kill normal bacteria of the host. And other uses of antibiotics we have already learned as food preservative, especially for meat and fish, for treating animal feed, for controlling plant pathogens. You know why I am repeating all this, children? Because they are very, very useful, and these questions will definitely appear in the exam, children. Every time there will be one question on antibiotics. At least one or two questions. Okay. So now we are going for serum. The next use in the medicines. Serum contains antitoxin. Got it? Serum actually means what? It is blood plasma from which fibrinogen, the fibrinogen part, one of the part is been removed. Got it? It may contain numerous chemical substances including antibodies, antitoxins. And toxins are poisonous proteins released by pathogenic bacteria during their growth or upon their breakdown after they die. Antitoxins is a substance produced in animal bodies which react with the poison produced by invading germs. Got it? Toxins, antitoxins. Toxins are the substance when they are released. Got it? They are proteins, are poisonous proteins released by bacteria, pathogenic bacteria during the growth or upon their breakdown after they die. So toxins means once, suppose a person, healthy person, bacteria enters, they go release substances called toxins. Suppose that bacteria is killed by white blood cells. because constant fighting will be going on in our bloodstream, isn't it? So they kill, suppose. That killed substance also can produce toxins. Got it? Then what are antitoxins? Is a substance produced in animal bodies which reacts with this toxin. Got it? Produced by invading germs. Got it? Suppose antitoxin comes, toxin is produced, then to subside that, to fight with it, antitoxins are produced by the animal body. Is that clear? So now coronavirus enters in our body. The moment they enter, they produce substance called toxin. To fight with coronavirus, we produce some substance called antitoxins. Is that clear now? Now serums are substances which are from fibrinogen is removed now. So they are present in the blood, isn't it? They contain antitoxins, chemical substances for a particular pathogen. Particular pathogen, particular antitoxins. Got it? Serums are used as preventive measures against bacterial invasion. For preparing serum, a small dose of bacterial toxin is introduced into the blood of healthy animal such as horse or cow. See children, antibiotics are the substances derived from the bacteria. When you get the disease, they are introduced to subside the disease from the external source. But whereas antitoxins, they are produced by our body only, our blood only. Serum is also antitoxin only. They contain antitoxin because it is a plasma, separated plasma. So what we can do is serum we can enrich by various antitoxins. How to do that? So for a healthy body, if you introduce a small quantity of toxin or pathogen, when you introduce, our blood will readily fight with it. To fight, lot of antitoxins will be produced. So such serum, if you collect, that serum will be rich with antitoxins. Is it not? So what they do, they take horse or cow, they repeatedly, after several injections of the same toxin for the blood of animal, such an animal taken. Got it? On chilling that blood, it clears as straw colored liquid which separates out from the clot and is called as serum. Got it? So it gets separated. Like how for a milk if you put lemon, the protein gets separated and whey gets separated now. Like that in our blood also, the liquid part, plasma gets separated and fibrinogen part gets separated. And that clot is removed means what is left out is called serum. For the snake bite treatment involves injection. Got it? For the snake bite, suppose a person is bitten, a snake bite is taken place. For that person, what they do? They give the serum only. How this treatment is taken, you know? For a cow or a horse, repeatedly snake venom, little snake venom will be injected. Several times if they inject, and that cow or horse blood will become rich with antitoxins, isn't it? Then that blood is collected, chilled, and clot is separated, serum is collected. Now this serum contains lot of antitoxins, isn't it? And that particular antitoxin is called antivenin, produced from the blood of horses. Got it? Now genetic engineering has made it possible to introduce the human genes in certain bacteria like Escherichia coli. These bacteria cultures grow rapidly. The particular gene dependent products are extracted from these bacteria. The hormone insulin was the first such substance produced by Escherichia coli. So what is this, ma'am? We are not able to understand. What is this genetic engineering? Now a little bit of genetic engineering I am going to tell you. we take a certain particular DNA and another particular DNA of a bacteria. So insulin DNA which can produce insulin from a human body is taken, and a bacteria DNA is also taken. They cut and paste this insulin into the bacteria. But since bacteria grows rapidly, got it, so many insulin DNA will get by the end of the day because bacteria divides enormously, isn't it? So that is how Escherichia coli is used here for the rapid culture. And that particular gene which can produce insulin, once is dissolved in water, distillation is done, you will get insulin hormone. That is how the first ever hormone is produced by the scientist is this insulin from the bacteria called Escherichia coli. Got it? A few serum compounds produced by genetically modified bacteria are blood clotting factor 8 for the treatment of hemophilia. Hemophilia is a particular disease where clotting of the blood will be delayed, so that blood loss will be more. It is a genetical disorder, children. There is no treatment for that for several years. But now, due to genetically modified objects, got it, genetically modified bacteria, they are able to find out treatment, and that is called blood clotting factor 8. Factor 9 for the treatment of hemophilia B. There are two diseases, hemophilia A, one kind, another kind is hemophilia B. In one kind, hemophilia, the delayed clotting, another one, clotting will never take place. So like that, both can be treated by this serums. Now another use in the field of medicine is vaccine. A preparation consists of weakened germs or dead germ substances is called vaccine. Vaccination means introduction of weakened germs or dead germs substances into the body for developing resistance to a particular disease. Now we are waiting for the corona vaccine, then only school will reopen, isn't it? So that is nothing but introduction of the weakened germs or dead germs to prevent that particular disease. Got it? Vaccines are available for variety of diseases such as cholera, typhoid, measles, chickenpox, etc. On injecting them into the body, the person gets the disease in mild form and his body gets stimulated to produce antitoxins. Now you understood? Little bit if we give, lot of antitoxins will be produced and antitoxins will start fighting with the disease and the immunity will be developed. Got it? The antitoxins provide immunity against any future attack of the particular disease germs. Edward Jenner, first antibiotic he found, children. Got it? For the smallpox, chickenpox, smallpox and all. See, Edward Jenner, he was a doctor. He found that he interestingly started treating cowpox and chickenpox, and then later he realized by treating these people by introducing these germs into the smallpox people, they are getting cured. That is how vaccines are first found. Got it? Two common vaccines obtained by growing bacteria are killed bacteria, stab vaccine for typhoid. Living weakened bacteria is BCG vaccine for tuberculosis. Bacillus, got it? Now, toxides. Toxides are inactivated toxins of particular bacteria which can still stimulate the production of respective antibodies, such as those for producing immunity against diphtheria and tetanus. Toxides are inactive toxins of particular bacteria. Now one person, healthy person, bacteria enters His got it. The moment bacteria enters his body, bacteria will start leaving toxins. If you collect the toxins, make them inactive, then we call it as toxoids. It is a kind of vaccine only, children. So it is used for developing immunity against a disease called diphtheria and tetanus. Got it, children? So we have learnt something, the field of the medicine, and we have learnt the field of bakery, in the field of cheese manufacturing, in the field of the bread manufacturing, wine manufacturing. Now we are going to know the steps of mushroom cultivation. Got it? There are three kinds of mushrooms commonly cultivated in India. White button mushrooms called as Agaricus bisporus, paddy straw mushrooms called as Volvoriella, oyster mushrooms called pleurotus or pleurotus. These three are edible mushrooms. Got it? And you have learned morels, etc. You have already learned some of the mushrooms, whatever we come across wild, we should not eat. Got it? Whatever mushrooms, it is very dangerous because they contain toxic substances. All mushrooms are not edible, children. Mushroom cultivation is done indoors also. Hence, little land is required for the cultivation. Got it? And the compost of mushroom is specially prepared to give good produce. The cultivation of mushroom involves 4 to 5 steps. First one is composting. Preparation of compost by mixing wheat and paddy straw, some inorganic fertilizers and chicken manure. The mixture is kept at about 50 degrees C. See, they take wheat and paddy straw. Straw will be there now, you would have seen in goldsmith shops and all. To burn, they'll use straw. Such paddy straw they will take, and above that they put little bit of water and some of the inorganic fertilizers they'll keep. And chicken manure means the droppings of the chicken from the poultry they'll collect and they put it, and the mixture is kept at the 50 degrees C, lot of temperature. Spawning. Now selected type of mushroom mycelium of the desired varieties are then introduced into the compost. That is called spawning. They're called mushroom seeds, the desired mycelium. Actually, mushroom is not having any seed, but they are called as mushroom seeds. They introduce and then they put it on that. Got it? Casting. Over the layer of the compost, a thin layer of soil is spread to give support to the growing mushroom. Proper humidity and temperature is provided for the growth of mushroom. Circulation of air. Down the compost, they'll keep small fans and circulation of air is also allowed to move around the beds. They are called, what composting they do now first with the paddy straw, that is called bed of compost. Got it? For cultivation of mushrooms. Cropping and harvesting. When the mushrooms reach the considerable size, they are cut and stored. They hold the mushroom, twist and take the blade and cut, children. They will not pull with the mycelium like that. That is a technique used to cut the mushrooms. Preservation. Mushrooms are highly perishable. To increase their shelf life, the following steps are taken. Vacuum and storing at lower temperature, about 15 degrees C. Freeze drying in a solution of citric acid, ascorbic acid and brine is also done. Is that clear? Now we go for the nutritive value of mushrooms. Mushrooms are rich sources of vitamins and minerals. They contain niacin, pantothenic acid, biotin in addition to some minerals. So all these names, don't get scared, they are vitamins, names of the vitamins. that is B1, B12, B6, like that. Mushroom contains about 80 to 90% of moisture, 3.5% protein, and 4 to 4.5% of carbohydrate, 0.3 to 0.4% of fat, and 1% of vitamins and minerals. Now, so many areas you have learnt: wine, antibiotics, serums, toxoids, bread manufacture, mushroom cultivation. Now, microorganisms' role in biosphere. Microorganisms such as fungi and bacteria, though very small and microscopic in nature, play a very important role in proper functioning of biosphere. They act like scavengers and clean the earth from dead matter. If these microorganisms were not there, the earth would have been littered by dead animals and plants. Whole earth will be covered with dead because the decaying is not taking place. But who's doing the decaying job? These natural scavengers, these fungi. In fact, these microorganisms are responsible for decay of dead bodies. Gradually, they convert the dead bodies into simpler substances of which they are made. Hence, they are called decomposers. The action of these microorganisms release the basic constituents into the environment, and in this way, they help in recycling of the matter in the biosphere. Got it? So recall that microorganisms are an important part of ecosystem. In your lower classes you have learned decomposers are very, very important. They play a significant role in maintaining ecological balance, ecosystems, isn't it? How? By decaying the dead matter. Is that clear, children? So like this, harmful bacteria, harmful fungi, harmful